Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Allison Morgan Bryant. I'm an associate professor and the chair of the Department of Information Systems and Supply Chain Management in the School of Business at Howard University. I'm delighted to serve as your moderator for this session on strategies for starting and scaling a small business with Leila Meliani of Harlem Capital Partners, Dr. Jocelyn Slaughter, and Victoria Davenport of JPMorgan Chase Bank. Leila Meliani lives at the intersection of tech and human capital. After launching her career as an operations team leader at an industrial firm, she joined the Human Capital Management Division at Goldman Sachs, where she built firm-wide initiatives for talent, equity, and inclusion. Leila is a fellow at Harlem Capital, a New York-based early-stage venture capital firm on a mission to change the face of entrepreneurship. At HCP, Leila is focused on sourcing, talent, strategy, and deal flow. She is also working as a product manager for Hugo, an early-stage startup that is building the future of work in Africa. Leila earned her MBA from Harvard Business School, where she focused on tech and general management. She recently founded the LMC Coaching Group, a career coaching practice offering clients one-on-one tailored support in reaching their goals. Leila is a proud alumna of Howard University. When she isn't working, she is feeding her passion for art and culture, constantly looking for more space on her walls to hang a new piece. Dr. Jocelyn Slaughter, MD, is a board-certified OB-GYN and owner of The Healthy Woman, an OB-GYN practice with 2 locations in Metro Atlanta. Born and raised on the South Side of Chicago, she graduated from Whitney Young Magnet High School in 2000. She was accepted into Howard University, where she majored in biology and graduated in 2004. While at Howard, she participated in many activities, including becoming a member of Alpha Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and doing research at the National Institutes of Health. She was accepted to the University of Chicago, Pritzker School of Medicine, and graduated in 2008. She moved to Atlanta, Georgia, to begin her training in obstetrics and gynecology at Grady Memorial Hospital under the Morehouse School of Medicine. During her 4 years of training, she was twice awarded the Arnold P. Gold Humanism in Medicine Award and served as the clinical chief resident during her last year. After graduation in 2012, she worked as an attending physician at Southside Medical Center and Atlanta Medical Center. In 2014, she decided to start her own medical practice in Metro Atlanta, and in 2016, the practice became known as The Healthy Woman. The practice is busy with 2 locations in Snellville and Lawrenceville, Georgia, where many new patients wait weeks to be seen by her. She loves delivering babies, performing surgeries, and helping women live their best lives. She's married to the love of her life, Benjamin Moore, and they have 2 beautiful young daughters. Victoria Davenport is an area manager with JPMorgan Chase for the Mid-Atlantic region and manages a team of 6 business relationship managers across 21 branch locations in the DC and Maryland markets. Over the past 8 years, Victoria has held multiple positions with the firm in Beverly Hills, California, and in New York City. She was previously a private client banker, small business specialist, and a business banking relationship manager. Prior to joining JPMorgan Chase, she was with the Technology and Security Risk Team at Ernst & Young. She has also served on the Business Banking Advisory Board with JPMorgan Chase to advance strategic service enhancements for the firm and its clients. Victoria enjoys mentoring young students through community programs such as Step Up Women's Network, the Fellowship Initiative, Brotherhood Crusade, and the Wheels NYC Outward Bound Writing Mentorship Program. Victoria holds a BS in Business Administration and Information Systems from the Marshall School of Business at the University of Southern California. She currently lives in Arlington, and in her free time, she enjoys staying active with hot yoga, spin classes, and spending time with her family. I would like to welcome our panel participants today. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your time and your stories. I think at this time, understanding how to start a small business, how to scale it, and helping people to get the courage and initiative to be able to do so is critically important. So I just want to start by asking you all if you could in general, tell us what you think maybe the most challenging part about starting a new business might be, and what are some strategies to overcome it?
Well, I can start. Again, I'm Dr. Slaughter. I am an OB-GYN, and for me as a physician, the hardest part about starting a practice on your own is we didn't go to business school. We went to medical school. And trying to navigate the world of business and money and finances and tax IDs, that was for me one of the hardest parts. But what I told myself is, look, you were able to pass organic chemistry, biochemistry. You can figure out how to work QuickBooks. And that's what I did. I think that knowing that you are smart, you are able, having the audacity to do it is very important. So believing in yourself through the parts that you just don't understand was my thing that helped me the most.
Absolutely. That confidence really came in, I'm sure, extremely handy. Victoria, did you want to add?
Yeah, I'll dive in here. And first of all, I just want to say thank you. I'm definitely excited to be here, Howard University Women in Business Summit on behalf of Advancing Black Pathways and JPMorgan Chase. As I've mentioned, I've been in this industry and business for 8 years. We see and work with a lot of small business owners. And to Dr. Slaughter's point, a lot of it is, just getting started. And then once you start scaling and growing your business. So some of those initial challenges is it can be on the side of, what type of business structure do I need to set up, whether it's a sole proprietorship, an LLC, an S Corp, right? And so you want to make sure that you have the great partners to work with to help you advise that, whether it's your attorney or your CPA. And then on our side, coming in as the business banking relationship, we can help provide information on what you need to open, your first business account so that you've got operating accounts in place to help with those transactions. And so part of it is that network, really getting to know who's available and what your resources are. And that will kind of help with those pain points along the way as you start your business and as you scale it as well.
Those are crucially important points, I think, that everybody needs to keep in mind, especially if you don't have a business background, or even if you do. These are probably situations that are new to you when you're first starting out, and I'm sure that was very helpful.
Yeah.
Leila, would you also like to add?
Yeah, I'll chime in with a little bit of the venture capital perspective. So before I start, I'm also very happy to be here, back virtually at Howard. And I can give a little bit of context on what Harlem Capital HCP does. So we invest in women and minority founders at the seed and Series A stage. So we typically make investments in the $500,000 to $1 million range. And our goal is to invest in 1,000 women and minority founders over the next 20 years. But I think to answer your question directly, one of the most challenging things in particular for early stage startups is access to capital and fundraising in general. And one thing I'm hoping to shed light on in this conversation is just what scaling and fundraising looks like as opposed to early stage startups compared to small businesses. And so in the VC world, investors are looking usually for 2 to 3x year over year growth in like $1 billion plus markets. And these are, typically industries with really high revenue multiples like software, enterprise, finance, things like that. But one of the ways in which, venture capital firms think about their investment criteria that can actually be helpful is in terms of what we look for. And I think these are things that any business owner, regardless of size, should be thinking about. So the first thing is, do you have a disruptive business model? Are you solving a clear need? Another important criteria is, thinking about building your team. Do you have a strong partner, co-founder? Are you bringing on somebody that can kind of complement your skill sets? And then lastly, making sure that you're very mindful of the fact that at the earliest stages, you wear many different hats, right? And so for early stage startups, the founder is usually the fundraiser as well. And so being very, adept at making sure that you can sell your business and pitch your startup very well is very important when it comes to fundraising.
Thank you so much, Leila. And you touched on something that I wanted to ask you all, and specifically you, Victoria, thinking about starting a new business. I think some of the parts that could be a little overwhelming is doing it all by yourself. So can you tell us about strategies for picking good partners? in starting your business and scaling? Like, what's the role of team building? How can we pick the right people to be in our organization with us?
Yeah, great question. And I touched on it a little bit. So there's two components of it, right? The internal team that you're building in-house, your staff, those who are helping internally. And then it's also the network that you have as well. And so, when I'm working with small business owners, we'll see them frequently paired with, attorneys, with CPAs, and of course you have your other partners, insurance brokers, your payroll companies, and things like that. But having the relationship with your bank business partner, I would say, is really important early on, because a lot of times we'll see when you're just starting the business, you'll come in and maybe it's fairly mechanical, the things that you're doing. You're just opening an account, you're just trying to figure out all the pins and needles of what makes it work. But really starting, our goal as we get to know our small business owners and clients is to understand, one, who they are, about their business, and what they're looking to do. And I find that it's always surprising what resources we have available. And so it's important that you chat with the business banker to say, this is what we're looking to do, not only now, but down the line, because we have different solutions that we can provide that really helps with whether it's the cash management part of it, the access to capital. Those are some of the two biggest topics that the owners come about. And it changes depending on what life cycle you are in the business, whether you're starting and whether you're scaling or looking to even, go public at some point.
Absolutely. Have either you, Jocelyn, or Leila, had any experience with choosing partners or having to go through this process?
Well, I am a solo OB-GYN, so I'm by myself. However, choosing, the people that are involved with me in some of the business planning, my managers, they are people that I trusted. So it might not pertain specifically to business partnerships, but they are the people who run my business. So my operations manager, my practice manager, choosing the people who are helping you get your money is extremely important. You have to have absolute trust with them. So the people that are working close with me, I've known them for years. I trust them with more than just money. They're also, they're my friends, not my long childhood friends, but these are people that I really do trust, and they have great character.
Excellent.
I would just add to that, when it comes to like developing your broader team, if you have an early stage startup, advisors can be critically important too. And I know that, as we're looking through and doing due diligence on different investments that come across our desk, one of the things we look for is, are you talking to the right people? Are you getting guidance from the right mentors, whether they be, if you're an e-commerce platform, somebody who's an industry expert in that space, somebody who has started and sold and started more companies in that space. So I wouldn't discount the value that, your mentors or advisors bring to you as an extension of your early business team. Those can be, critically important, contacts for you, especially as people vouch for you in conversations when you're trying to, either fundraise or secure contracts or things like that.
Excellent. That makes total sense. The next question is the business plan. Is it still required? Lots of my students are starting companies now that begin on social media, and it's a wonderful thing. We're super excited about it. But is a physical business plan still necessary to start a new business?
I'll dive in on that one. It's definitely, I would say, anyone who's looking to start a business, you should certainly have a business plan, right? You want to know what your goals are, what your objectives are, what competition or and opportunities there might be. So we definitely, when it comes to access to capital and lending for startup businesses, that's definitely a requirement. We want to see that there's a business plan in place. So if we're planning to lend, loans to help fund the start of the business, we want to know that you've already put in the thoughts and the plan in place to really grow and launch your business. And part of that includes projections as well. Have you kind of forecasted over the first year to 2 years what your cash flow projections are on your income and financial statements and your balance sheet as well. So, and there's resources available to help with that, with the Small Business Administration, which is the SBA, with community development centers and financial institutions. I will say that with Advancing Black Pathways, one of the things that we're looking to do is really help accelerate the growth of Black business owners. And we're doing that with our Entrepreneurs of Color Fund, because part of it is the education, right? If you're just starting your business, how do you find out about how to create and write a business plan? How do you find out about projections and access to capital? So we're really launching that, and we're doing a listening tour as well to hear from Black entrepreneurs and find out what are some of the plights and challenges that they're facing, so we can do more with the education piece of it.
And I'd also like to chime in about the plan. When I first started my business or decided to open up a practice, as a physician, we have a very high earning potential. So there were a lot of banks that were ready to throw lots of money at us. You know, they want you to use their money. You know, they want you to get $400,000 loans, and they want you to use as much as possible because they know that we're gonna pay them back. And we actually get penalties for paying back early because they know we're gonna pay back. But as far as having a plan, I always had a plan. I still go with a piece of paper and I will count how many patients I'm gonna see a day, how much money I should make Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If I'm in the operating room, how many babies I'm gonna deliver. And that was the plan. There's always a financial money plan that I had. I had started working and making money pretty quickly, but when I expanded to a second practice, that was something I didn't get an additional loan for, but I had to have the plan of how much money am I going to make from this? How much would the employees cost? Payroll, health insurance. So when you are scaling up a business, you have to, it's all comes down to the money and how much money you're going to make. And I wanted to take out the least amount of money as possible because, you know, there's interest that occurs. And so I think that having a plan, even if it's not, you know, as structured, if a bank isn't asking you for a structured plan, you have to have your own plan about how much money you think you're going to make.
That makes total sense. Always having a plan, regardless if someone asks you for it or not, is something I think we should all be prepared for. My next question is about pitfalls. Are there obstacles that you all have seen in the process of starting new businesses, growing your new businesses, that people can be aware of and prepare for ahead of time?
Yeah, definitely. I think the time that we're experiencing right now with, you know, coronavirus and things being shut down is a really interesting case study in that, especially in terms of being conservative with your cash. And I think what Dr. Slaughter just mentioned about, you know, making sure that you know your financials very well and you're planning and forecasting is critically important. There was a recent article I think it was in the New York Times, that said that, you know, on average, businesses in you know, predominantly Black areas only had about 2 weeks of cash. And, you know, the industry standard recommendation is for you to have 3 to 6 months as a small business. If you're an early stage startup, it should be closer to maybe even 18 months. So making sure that as you plan, you're being prepared for shocks that could disrupt your business. But it also works the other way around, you know, regardless of whether or not there's a global crisis, if you're doing all of the work to raise awareness about your company on social media and suddenly you go viral to the point where your supply chain can't support, you know, the orders that you're getting, that's also a problem. And so making sure that everything that you're planning is in lockstep, it really does come back to the fundamentals of your business and making sure that you're being, you know, thoughtful and conservative about your cost structure.
Yeah, and I'd like to add into that pitfalls, thinking ahead, specifically with the coronavirus. As a medical office, we had to delay and stop some things and not have as many patients come into the office. However, I early on got our telemedicine up and running, and I knew that everyone's going to be jumping on telemedicine. So I stayed up night after night, making sure we had our telemedicine plan and we had our app and we had our everything going. So we didn't miss a beat financially. We continued seeing patients while other practices were scrambling. We were already ahead of the game. And the same thing when I opened my second office, you have to be able to jump when the moment is right. I knew we had 3-week wait. I came into our parking lot one day and I said, we don't have enough spaces for cars. I said, that's how we know we were that busy. And it was then that I said, I have to get another practice. So, you know, instead of waiting until now, you have so many patients or so many clients, they can't get in to see you. Now they're writing bad reviews because they can't see you. You have to have the foresight to open up another office to use that momentum to keep your business going.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in there with that unexpected growth. There was a survey that we did last year, and we surveyed 1,000 different decision makers within businesses with revenues from 100,000 to 20 million. And 69% of them said that they experienced unexpected growth. And what that translated into was, means 58% were working longer hours, 43% had to buy more inventory, and 40% had to hire more staff. So to Dr. Slaughter's point, when you're thinking about planning ahead and forecasting, there's going to be unexpected growth. So it's a matter of planning for it. And that, whether it means you're opening a second office, a second location, and of course there's financing that's available for it as well, including, tenant improvements, meaning you're going to renovate or fix your current location and the new location that you're opening as well. So those are things as you're looking at your balance sheet and your projection, your forecast, to think about, okay, for the next 6 months to a year, this is probably going to happen. How am I going to address it?
Absolutely. So in talking about planning, is there a way to plan to achieve some level of balance? As entrepreneurs, sometimes your days go on. So your cycle might be 24 hours to 48. You might give yourself a break somewhere in there. But especially given our current situation, given the pandemic, making sure that we're trying to achieve some level of balance and give ourselves some breaks. Are there ways to plan to make sure that you are moving towards balance, or do you kind of just have to play it by ear?
Well, I think balance is extremely important. A lot of people who start businesses, you're the product. So in my business, I'm product. I have to run the business financially and all this stuff, but then I actually have to work and do it. And structurally, I made sure that I'm not doing too much. And I think that it's easy to do a lot. I can see 40 patients a day. But if I limit how many I see and I delegate work and hire other people to help me make money, then I can actually enjoy my life. I have 2 small children. I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. I'm still breastfeeding my 2-year-old, unfortunately. But I opened my practice while I was pregnant, my big location practice. And so I had to keep myself not too busy or else my health would fail. And that's a huge thing. If you're the product of your business, if you get sick, your business won't work, and all your employees, they may lose their jobs if you can't perform. So I think that having a balance is necessary, or else your business will fail. People can have a nervous breakdown, they can be in the hospital, they can start not thinking right. So I think that's part of my job, is to know when I'm doing too much and to be able to scale it back.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And this is something that I think I struggled with when I first started my coaching practice. And so similar to you, Dr. Slaughter, this is a business where you are the product, right? And as I can imagine, is even more critical in the medical field, when you're interfacing with patients or clients on a regular basis, it's also, kind of emotionally draining work because you get very invested in the partnership. And so, structurally, what I've been trying to do, I'm still wrestling with this right now, is trying to make sure that I'm balancing my time such that, I only take appointments at this certain time of the week, or, I make sure I'm reserving this part of my day for self-care. But the other thing, much more importantly, I think, is to just surround yourself with really good people. I have a group chat with some of my best girlfriends from business school that is constantly active. They're always supporting me. And we, find different ways to kind of support each other as we're, either trying to excel at work or in our entrepreneurial endeavors or what have you. But surrounding yourself with people that you can just vent to and say, hey, I'm struggling, or I need help today. That is super valuable, because nobody gets anywhere alone. That is a myth. If you try, you will fail. So, surrounding yourself with good people is definitely the highest form of self-care.
Yeah, and I think in any line of business, whether you're employed or you have your own business, that balance is important. If you're a small business owner, no matter at what stage, it's you're the face of the business, right? Or the face, who's guiding and managing your employees. So it's important to take a step away and to really think about the self-care that's important for you, but also to think about your business and think, do you really have the right system, the right efficiencies and the strategies in place? And can you take advantage of automating some of those and using some of the digital solutions? I know on the banking side, we have a full platform of our online platform where, you know, there's so many different options where instead of going in and doing things manually, you can have a digital process in place. And that hopefully gives either yourself time back or your office staff or office manager time back to really focus on the other parts that are crucial to your business to really grow it.
It sounds like
I would just add one more thing. It's just,
Jocelyn.
I was just going to add one more thing. It's just trying to have time alone and so you can think. I used to go on walks, and when I would go on walks, I would come up with all these great ideas. Or if I was on call and I was at the hospital and not doing anything, that's when I would come up with all my great ideas, is being able to have peace and quiet and being able to think.
Absolutely. Having these strategies and being intentional seems to be a theme of what each of you all are saying, whether it's surrounding yourself with good people or using resources that are at your disposal to make sure that you have time for yourself. It seems to be really key. We have a few more minutes, so I want to take some questions from the chat. The first one is, as Amazon continues to expand during this time, how do you see product-focused small businesses maximizing their profits without getting stuck under the thumb of Amazon?
Yeah, I can jump in here. So I think one of the encouraging things that I've seen is, you know, while Amazon is definitely a huge player, direct-to-consumer businesses are booming. And so there's definitely space if you have a differentiated product. And that's probably the number one thing is, there was a panel earlier where somebody was saying, you know, I don't want to be like a Me Too business, like, oh, I'm just a copycat business. Why is your product different from everything else that's out there? Are you going after a market that is being underserved, right? That's kind of the thought process that I think helps when you're trying to go up against really large players like that. So definitely focusing on product differentiation, but the market trends for, you know, direct-to-consumer businesses online are very strong. So I think it's a good time to be there.
So the main takeaway would be differentiation in your strategy to help you compete. Okay. All right. One more is, what are your recommendations for small businesses that are trying to scale their businesses but aren't familiar with navigating the financing aspect of their business, debt versus equity versus crowdfunding, etc.?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll jump in for the debt side of it. Obviously, being at the bank, you know, that's one of the items that we really help small business owners and our clients with. I would say the first thing is you want to start asking before you need the financing. And obviously there's a debt portion of it and the equity portion, and maybe Leila can jump in on the equity part of it. But with the debt portion, that means that you're looking to take financing from the bank to help grow or start or launch your business. And there's 3 different areas that we really look at when we think about starting and financing a business. And part of that is looking at your cash flow, the cash that's available to repay the loan or the line of credit, the collateral. In the event that, you know, the cash is not there and there is some type of default, what type of collateral do you have available, whether that's inventory, real estate, your AR, receivables report. And then the third piece is credit. Credit's very, very important. And that's something that, you know, there's the business credit, but we also look at heavily on the personal credit as well, especially for small businesses. So it's important to be aware of what your personal credit is and start to build that. And we'll look at different financial statements and things of that type and to help you structure to make sure that you're selecting the right type of credit. So knowing the difference for short-term options, such as a line of credit or a credit card, versus longer term, a term loan, and the different types of loans available, whether it's a business acquisition loan, purchasing real estate, maybe you're buying out your partner. There's a lot of different financing that's available when it comes to the debt side of it. So really making sure you know that before you may need it, and definitely having the right partner to discuss it as you need as well.
And Victoria, part of the Advancing Black Pathways is helping to, with that educational gap around some of these financial issues as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that's a big proponent on the wealth side. And it's interesting on the education side, and there's a little statistic here. So as learning more about it, what we've seen is if entrepreneurs of color own businesses, at the same rates as white entrepreneurs, it would result in 9 million more jobs and 300 billion in worker income. That's why it's a huge proponent for us to really help and work with Black entrepreneurs and people of color so that they understand what's important on access to capital, and why we've done the Entrepreneurs of Color Fund to help those who maybe aren't ready for a bank loan, but we can help them in other ways as well.
Awesome, thank you. I think we are out of time. Unfortunately, this has been such a groundbreaking panel for me, especially because I think that some of the things that make us nervous about starting new businesses, a lot of times has to do with our inability to reach out and ask for help. And there are people who have come before us who can share all of the things that you all have been through, the good, the bad, and really just starting those conversations is the step in the right direction. So I'm really just thanking you all for your time, for being here, for sharing your insight. I wish you well, stay healthy. And I want to give my very special thanks to Dr. Jocelyn, to Leila, and Victoria. Thank you for being with us today. Ladies, can you please really quickly tell everyone how they can stay in touch with you via social media?
Sure, I'm on LinkedIn. My name, Victoria L. Davenport. I'm with JPMorgan Chase, so I'm sure you'll be able to easily find me, and feel free to ping me.
As for me, oh, go ahead, Dr. Slaughter.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I am, the easiest way is Instagram, The Healthy Woman GA. That's our handle, and we can to see all the pictures of us delivering babies, and you can contact me as well through there.
I'll give 2 plugs. For me, I'm on Twitter at Ms. Meliani. LinkedIn is the same. And then for Harlem Capital specifically, if you're an early stage founder, check us out at harlem.capital. We have an internship program if you're interested in investing. The deadline for that is June 30th, so check that out as well.
Thank you so much, ladies. Have a wonderful day. And now we're going to take a 10-minute break featuring more music by DJ C. Devone before our next panel on climbing the corporate ladder begins. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.